Far beyond the crowded cities, beyond the noise and rush of men chasing dreams they barely understand, there was a small village resting in the arms of the mountains. The air there was clean, crisp, the kind that carried the scent of pine, earth, and rain. It was a place forgotten by time, where each sunrise felt like the first, and every night carried the peace of 1,000 stars. In this village lived an old woman. Her name had long faded from memory, for everyone simply called her the Gentle One. Her home was small, built from stone and wood that had survived many winters. The walls were uneven, the roof bowed slightly, yet inside it breathed warmth, the kind of warmth no fire alone could give. She had no children, no husband, and no wealth. She didn't own lands or treasures, nor did she seek any. What she had was something far rarer, something most people spend their whole lives searching for: peace. Every morning, she would rise before the sun and light a tiny fire in her old hearth. She would hum softly as she prepared her simple meal, a soup made from herbs, potatoes, and whatever her garden offered that day. The rhythm of her days was slow, gentle, unhurried, and though her world was small, her heart was vast. When villagers felt lost or burdened, they would come to her little home. Somehow, her smile carried something sacred. She listened more than she spoke, and when she did speak, her words were like calm water over troubled stones. She never preached, never promised miracles, yet somehow when people left her home, their hearts felt lighter, as if they had been touched by something invisible but real. Even when she had nothing, she smiled. When storms tore through the village, when winters bit hard and food was scarce, her light never dimmed. She would hum old songs that no one else remembered anymore. The melody drifted through the air like a forgotten lullaby, wrapping the village in quiet comfort. One cold night, as the wind howled between the mountains, there was a knock at her door. It was late, too late for visitors. She opened the door slowly, her wrinkled hands trembling slightly. Before her stood a traveler, cloaked, mysterious, with eyes that seemed older than time. His clothes were dusty, his face shadowed by the dim firelight. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The traveler smiled. "Just someone passing through. But I have heard of you, of the woman who lives with peace in her heart. Tonight, I have come to give you a choice." She blinked in surprise. "A choice?" "Yes," he said, his voice deep but gentle. "There are 3 doors. Behind one lies your deepest desire. Behind the others, only disappointment." The old woman laughed quietly. "Oh, kind stranger," she said, "I'm far too old to chase after dreams." But the traveler stepped closer. "Still," he said, "you should see them. Sometimes the heart must be reminded why it chose peace." The traveler led her to a moonlit meadow. 3 doors stood there, silent and unmoving, like ancient guardians of hidden truths. One shone with a blinding golden glow, engraved with symbols of wealth and glory. The second, carved from solid wood, felt warm and strong, the kind of door that might open to a home filled with laughter and love. The third was old, rusted, and crooked. It looked almost forgotten, a door no one would ever choose. "Choose," the traveler said. "One door holds the gift you desire most, though you may not even know what it is." Without hesitation, the woman began walking toward the rusted door. "Why this one?" the traveler asked, frowning. The old woman smiled, her eyes shining softly. "Because," she said, "the most beautiful things in my life have always come in old, worn wrappings. Love, kindness, wisdom, they never arrive glittering like gold. They come quietly in humble forms." She turned the handle and opened the rusted door. Inside, there was nothing. Only darkness, silence, and dust dancing in the faint moonlight. The traveler watched her face, expecting sadness, maybe regret. But she simply smiled and laughed softly. "You're not disappointed. he asked. She shook her head. No, I came into this world with nothing, and yet even now I still have my smile, so tell me, what have I really lost? The traveler said nothing. For a moment, the wind seemed to still, as if the earth itself were listening. Then, slowly, he opened the other two doors. Behind the golden door lay endless piles of treasure, gold, jewels, and silver gleaming like fire. Behind the wooden door, a mirror shimmered. In it, the woman saw herself, young again, beautiful, surrounded by riches and love, with the strength and beauty she once had. The traveler turned to her, his voice softened. You could have had all this, he said. You could have been rich. You could have been young again. You could have lived another life. She looked at him for a long time, her eyes as calm as still water. Then she smiled. More than what? She asked gently. More than peace. More than knowing how to smile in the dark. More than the joy of a simple soup and a quiet heart. No, I already chose the right door. And so she turned away, walking back toward her small stone house, back to her little fire still glowing faintly in the night, back to her pot of soup still bubbling softly, back to her songs, those forgotten melodies that only she remembered, back to her peace. The traveler stood in the meadow for a long time, watching her go. The wind brushed through the grass, whispering secrets older than time. Then at last, he smiled too. He finally understood. Sometimes happiness isn't behind the golden door. It isn't found in what we gain, but in what we already hold with grace. True joy doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from giving thanks, even when the door you open seems empty. Be content where you are. Smile even when life feels small, because sometimes the greatest treasures of all are hidden in the simplest moments. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking and subscribing for more content that speaks to the soul. I'll see you in the next one.